After the critical and commercial failure that was Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers, the franchise was at a crossroads yet again. The future of it was uncertain. Would another movie even take place? Well, Daniel Farron, screenwriter of Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers, had already pitched a second film, or technically seventh film in the franchise, during production of Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers, and it was to serve as the follow-up to that film. Farron's film was titled Michael Myers, Lord of the Dead, and it would have picked up right at the end of Halloween 6. Tommy Doyle was going to find out that the entire town of Haddonfield was in on the conspiracy of controlling Michael Myers. Farron's ended up not wanting to continue on with the series because he couldn't watch another one of his scripts get torn to shreds. As you guys know, Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers was a pre-production and mid-production and post-production Frankenstein. All over the place. Things changed daily. Daniel Farron had no intention of allowing another one of his scripts to go through that. So the Weinstein Company had decided that the future of the Halloween franchise was going to be direct to video. Now at this time, as you guys know, their popular franchise that they kept pumping films out direct to video was Hellraiser. Mustafa Akkad did not want to do this, but it became very clear to him after The Curse of Michael Myers it might be the best way to keep Halloween alive, to keep the rights, to keep the cost down, and to keep it going. So he accepted. And eventually, Robert Zappia, a big fan of the Halloween franchise, was brought on to pen a script for the new story. And he only had one directive. And this directive was made very clear, and for good reason, that this needed to go in an entirely different direction. You could not do the same thing again. At this point, there was so much connective tissue from the previous Halloween movies. There were so many plot points left hanging. There were so many things that we never got answers to. You just couldn't tie it all together. It was not doable. So the franchise needed a restart. That restart was Halloween 7, Two Faces of Evil. That was Robert Zappia's script. And the idea of Zappia's script was going to be Michael Myers was incarcerated after the events of Halloween 6. Now, we would get mention of the crimes he had committed before, but it wasn't really going to be focused on. Michael Myers was this masked killer that is incarcerated since that fateful Halloween night in 1995. Obviously, the film picks up 3 years later, and it sees Michael Myers, presumed dead, get transferred to a morgue where he is reborn. He is brought back to life. Whether he was faking his death, who's to say? Whether it was the curse of Thorn that brought him back. But Michael is back. And he's ready for blood. Now, murders started happening in Haddonfield again, but Michael Myers had been incarcerated when they started, so it couldn't have been him. There's a suspect in Haddonfield who is a magician. Police are zeroing in on him, but they don't have enough to keep him, so they let him go. Michael Myers, meanwhile, ends up heading to an all-girls boarding school where he starts stalking young girls, like Michael Myers would do, right? Something that we saw kind of carry over into Halloween H20 when we saw it was a private school of both boys and girls, but you can clearly tell where the inspiration came from. Eventually, the detectives' investigation, along with tips from the magician that they had suspected in Haddonfield, leads them to the boarding school. And we come to find out at this boarding school that Michael Myers is actually hunting another blood relative, the daughter of Laurie Strode's sister. So this script would have kept in line with Michael Myers going after blood relatives. That was still his stated purpose. We also find out that this magician that they had suspected was, in fact, the copycat killer. This script was compared a lot to Silence of the Lambs. The climax of the film would have taken place on a clock tower, where police think they've zeroed in on Michael Myers. And when they take the killer down, they find out it was actually the copycat killer. Michael had switched places, a la Halloween Resurrection, or Halloween 6, the producer's cut. The magician says, before he dies, I made Michael disappear. This would have opened up the series for many more movies. Michael was back on the loose again. And that is the script of Halloween: Two Faces of Evil. Now, again, there was a lot of criticism given to this movie because it was very similar to Silence of the Lambs. They found it derivative, and they honestly were very happy the film wasn't made. As I said, there are a lot of aspects about this script that are still carried over in Halloween H20, but the meat of the story has changed. But the title of the script was very self explanatory. This was going to be a story about two killers, one inspired by Michael Myers and Michael Myers coming back himself, one trying to take up the mantle in Haddonfield, Illinois, while the other, Michael Myers, going after another long lost relative, where they would have crossed paths and that copycat killer would have emboldened Michael and helped him survive to go back on his murderous spree for many films to come. Obviously, the pitch got scrapped, and it never ended up happening, although Zappia is still attached on Halloween H20. We know what ended up happening was that as the 20th anniversary came up, Jamie Lee Curtis, John Carpenter, a lot of people involved in the original film showed interest in coming back. And because of that, Mustafa Akkad, Miramax all got a shot in the arm, and they said, we can go to theaters now. We can make this a legitimate movie. We don't have to go to direct-to-video hell. We can bring Laurie Strode back. We can make this an anniversary film. And they did. Halloween H20 was met to middling reviews, but a lot better than the recent sequels, and a pretty big box office success. So Halloween was back in a big way. So what ended up happening was probably best for the franchise. Zappia's idea never came to pass, but the script is online if you want to read it, as well as many other countless videos made on the subject, dissecting it, giving their opinions on it. I have a lot of nostalgia for Halloween H20. Growing up as a kid, it was one of my favorite ones, and I think part of that was just because I got to see Laurie Strode back again, and I got to see her fight back. I got to see her damaged, yet overcome. And I think that I'm very happy that we ended up getting that film over this one, because it honestly does, at many points throughout the script, read like a direct-to-video movie. Mustafa Akkad never wanted Halloween to go direct-to-video. And because of Jamie Lee Curtis, he got his wish. So thank Jamie Lee Curtis, or maybe don't, that we never saw Halloween 2 Faces of Evil. We never got to see a magician make Michael disappear.